Hey, so I was on the phone the other day with someone, and we were discussing the situation they had. They had a scenario where they're trying to manage an agile bubble within a waterfall organization. Generally, the organization is working waterfall with everything else. They just happen to have a bubble of software development that is running in an agile way. And what they really were trying to get at is, how do I show management that things are either A, getting skipped just before go live, or B, things are being bottlenecked, and because they're being bottlenecked, then they wind up skipping, right? It's not because people don't want to do the right thing. It's because people are being pushed to get things out quickly, and you have to skip steps. When that happens, you don't have to, but they were, or potentially were. We don't know. That's part of the problem, was it just not knowing. So what we ended up doing is talking through and going from, hey, we need a Microsoft project plan, to, hey, maybe a sort of a Kanban-ish tool would help. And I'm not calling this Kanban because there's a lot more to a Kanban system than what we're going to put up here. What we're actually doing is simply visualizing the workflow. But if you're familiar with Kanban, you'll go, oh, that's a Kanban chart. It sort of is, but we're not putting WIP limits on things, and we're not doing some of the lean process improvement stuff. We're just trying to visualize the workflow. So here I've got a few of the work steps. You have like ideas, then you charter the work, you do requirements, you design, you do build. In this organization, from my understanding, and it happens a lot in organizations I'm dealing with, the build phase was the agile piece of it. So they do all the rest of this waterfall, and then they have this agile build, and then there's a test phase. Yes, it's pseudo-agile. So there's a test phase out here. They're probably doing a little bit of testing in here, but this organization has, and many organizations that I work with, has multiple test environments. So this is the dev environment. So you'd want to put the dev environment here, and this is the test. So test number 1 environment, and then. Different organizations have different names for it. Pre-production development or pre-production testing, PPD testing, PPMO, pre-production model office. Different people call it different things. Test, UAT. When you're in an enterprise organization, you do end up having to do, well, historically you've had to do multiple levels of testing like this. Now, if you end up taking that environment to a completely agile context, then you can reduce the big bang jumps here. You still do this testing, but you do it in smaller increments, all in this design, build, test. This all becomes one chunk of work, right? Design, build, test, design, build, test, design, build, test. And you're deploying at the end of every release, or at the end of every 3 or 4 or 5 releases. Test and then deploy. All right, so you just stick these suckers up here. Let's deploy off the screen. Not quite. So deploy is way over here. All right, you can see that. Now, what we would do to help you see where things are flowing besides that is take another set of sticky notes and create 2 stickies underneath each one. And I wouldn't do it under the ideas phase, because ideas are just ideas. And here, I'll show you. This first one says doing, right? This is the doing. And you stick it here. And this next one says done. Got it? Doing and done. And you put those right next to each other. Doing, done. Super simple. Doing, done. Hard work, huh? The great thing about doing this kind of workflow visualization is it helps you see where your bottlenecks are, and where you're doing too much batch processing, too much. There's not enough people, potentially in one of the areas, and so you end up with a bottleneck there, or there's not enough resource talking honestly about the word resource, not about people, right? A test environment that's clobbered up with too many people. Maybe there's a lack of a skill set, so that even though there are enough people, there's not enough skill set within that area. Doing, done, doing, done. Now it's important to get these in the right order. Doing, done, doing, done, doing, done. Just little nuances. Having done this a bajillion times, you want to make sure that you start with doing over here. This one needs to start with doing, because this is a holding tank over here, right? This, can't see me here. That one, ideas, it's a holding tank where a whole bunch of ideas sit around. This is the backlog. Chartering, requirements, design, build, tests. I'm not going to finish all those. We'll just, you know what we do. Doing, done, doing, done, doing, done, doing, done. And then you would take, and I would often do this on a whiteboard, but like you can see right here, I'm doing it just on a regular wall. And I have this blue painter's tape. Please be careful, you use blue painter's tape. Different colors of tape have different tackinesses, and painter's tape this blue painter's tape is usually designed to be nice and untacky, so it comes off of walls very easily, and you won't end up making a huge mess in your facility. Your facilities people won't get all mad at you. So we just do this, really so hard. It's so hard to do this kind of thing. All right, doing it quick. So you can now see, here's how it goes, doing, done, doing, done. You could also do this with theater spike tape. It's a little bit more expensive, but it comes in different thicknesses and different colors, which is really nice, because you can get really narrow spike tape that's a different color. So then I would divide each of these into a separate sub-columns. And if I was doing this, you know, at a facility, I might do them a little wider. Whoops. A little wider for you. But it's not the end of the world. They're not wide enough right now. So then what I would do is, that's about it. Now you can start to fill it up. And I would talk with my teams and go, okay, you're doing Agile work. In your build, we'll call this your sprints. You could even call this sprints. Right? What are the stories you're working on? And you go story. It's the XYZ story that we're working on here. And we put the actual ones that are working here. They're being built. Right? So now you've got some work there. Hey, what's in the design phase? Oh, so we've got, you know, S5 is we're done with the design for S5, but it's not ready to be built yet. So we'd actually put the names on these. I'm just doing this for the sake of argument here, for the sake of showing you what it looks like. Now I'm just doing scribbles because it's even quicker. So you'd put, you know, some stories are here in requirements. We've got the requirements done for them, but we don't have a design done for them yet. Now again, don't get fooled and think that this is actually Kanban, because it's not yet. You could turn this into a Kanban board, but that would take a little bit of work at this point. All we're trying to do right now is see what the heck is going on. And if I see it looks like this, I can see where things are in the flow of work. I might use different colored sticky notes for different projects if I've got multiple projects the team is working on. So I could see that, you know, their architecture here and doing some design work on these stories. So you can see how that, you know, you could start to understand where things were in the flow. And maybe we've got one of these green stories here that's in that. Oh, we've got a couple stories that are done. That's nice. And, you know, some of them have this green story may have been like the last sprint's work. And this was a carryover story that got done late. And this work here is in test environment 1. And here's some stories that are in test environment 2. And so you can see how that would show you where things are as they're flowing through. I don't know, that sticky note's not working. You can see how things are flowing through the system. You can start to see when, oh, wait a minute, there's a whole bunch of stuff here and nothing's getting to the done column. Maybe there's a problem in this part of the work. Let's take a look at that a little bit more deeply. Taking this another step, or 10, to take it into being a Kanban chart would be some more work. But this gives you a tool to now, your waterfall organization, you're still working with Agile teams, doing some Scrum here maybe, or doing some kind of Agile delivery, maybe XP, but you rest of your organization is still running this other waterfall approach. Now you can kind of combine the two worlds and see where things are working, see where things are not working. This stuff, is still, you're having to coordinate with other projects in these environments, right? They may be a waterfall project that has blocked up the PPD environment, and they're going to have it for 6 months because they're a waterfall project and they have to have the whole darn thing. That's not a problem for you. Now you can show it, because suddenly all this work's going to start to pile up right here. And, well, actually it's going to pile up right here in this test done column, not getting into this column where it's ready to go and get produced. It's just going to sit here waiting, and you won't be able to move it forward. So that's the idea. It's not really complicated. It's a great tool to, again, visualize the invisible, make visible the invisible. You always want to be asking the question of why, right? If you're in a waterfall organization, you are often going to be asked or told, you have to do this, and you have to do this, and you need to do that, and this is the report we need, and this is the format we needed. We need a Gantt chart, we need this status report, and you will want to constantly be asking the question, why? And is there another way that I can provide you with that same information, just in a slightly different look, right? To help get the thing to flow more smoothly. So that's all I wanted to talk about with you today. I looked around online and couldn't find a good example of how I've done this before and how it works well. So if you like it, like it. If you don't, then leave me a note. Tell me why, and I would love to chat with you about what you don't like about it, how it's not working, or how you have seen it work and how it is working for you. I'd love to hear those stories. So thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye-bye.